how old are you?
I'm 82.
82. That is awesome. I think I can say that. The big black Hemi.
Nothing touches anywhere.
Let's let her eat and see what she does. Alrighty, calling the winner of Sugar Mama. Alrighty.
Hello.
Hey, is this Les?
It is.
Les, this is Steve Morris. How are you?
Steve, I'm good. How are you?
Very good. So you are the winner of Sugar Mama.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. I never win anything. How did that happen?
Well, you won this. So I think that is pretty awesome. All right, so first off, tell me about yourself.
I'm the owner of a business in Dexter, Michigan.
Oh, and yeah, right here. Yeah, I saw on your deal that you were actually, it said Fenton, but so you own a shop in Dexter. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And I live up near Fenton.
Okay.
I have raced in the past. It's been about, I don't know, 8-10 years ago now.
Oh, all right, cool, awesome. So you're a racer. What?
A 63 Tempest.
A 63 Tempest. Awesome.
Yeah.
How fast was that going?
We were running in the low 10-O's.
10-O's.
Yeah, we were shooting for a 9. Didn't quite make it before I sold the car.
Never made it to a 9. Okay, it's awesome.
Didn't make it to a 9.
Yep.
And I don't know, I kind of figured that probably was not going to happen in my life. But I've seen some of the videos of the car you're given.
Yep.
And that certainly looks like it's capable of a 9.
Yeah.
What's makes it look really easy to do.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It definitely goes 9s. So,
Yeah.
How long have you owned the business over there in Dexter?
Right around 30 years.
Around 30 years. Awesome.
Yeah.
And I know how old, but how old are you?
I'm 82.
82. That is awesome. All right, 82. So you were racing in your mid 70s, anyways.
Yep.
And how did you even see? You must be a fan, or you watch more of our videos and stuff.
I watch pretty much all of your videos. Actually, I've always enjoyed your presentation of it.
Yep.
You strike me as being a straight, what we called in the old days anyway, a straight shooter.
Straight shooter. All right. And, I appreciate that.
Just as super enjoyable to listen to you and to see the work that you've done. It's just awesome.
Well,
so yeah, I do follow your.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that very much.
As a matter of fact, when I went on your site one Saturday morning, and you had mentioned something about your shirts, and I said, I'm going to get myself one of those sweatshirts. They've got to be like everything else he does. They're probably first quality, and I'll do that.
Yeah.
So I ordered it, and at the same time, I entered the drawing, I guess.
Yeah.
Because that was telling us that was what you do. So that's how all of that came about.
Well,
I'm still in shock.
That is awesome, 100% awesome. So, all right, cool. So here's what I had said we were going to do is we're going to do a track rental. We'll get that all sorted out, and you meet me at the track, and we're going to go over Sugar Mama. And are you comfortable going out and making passes in the car right away? I'm going to rent the track so we can have nice quality,
We'll make
easy
it
time.
fun, and then we'll get on it.
Yeah, all right. So we'll darn right. So so get the track rented, and we're gonna go through the whole car. We'll convert it over to street, and then you could literally drive this thing home. So you don't need to bring a trailer or anything. So I mean, especially since you're only probably how far away are you from like Milan? If I can rent Milan, how far away are you from Milan?
Oh, it's about an hour drive.
About an hour drive, yeah. If you want, yeah. I mean, you want to drive the car an hour, that ain't no big deal.
Driving Sugar Mama, that may be different.
Well, it might take you a little bit longer. But that is totally awesome. I'm going to start making arrangements, try to get the track rented. I haven't been able to, or haven't done anything yet. Wanted to talk to you first, and then so I will give you a call back as soon as I get everything all done, and we're gonna get hooked up, and I think this is gonna be super cool. So
I look forward to it. Thank you very much.
awesome, Les. I appreciate it, and take care. And I'll give you a call back just in hopefully yet today.
All right, super.
All right, thanks, Les.
Take care.
Yep. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
There you go. 82 years old, and drag racer, 82 years old, fan of the channel, gonna go out and do it. I think that's gonna be absolutely cool. So it's pretty spectacular, pretty neat deal. And so I am gonna try getting the track rented up. I'm gonna try doing it this week, just within a day or two. So stay tuned. Clarky's getting ready to go. That's Clarky.
Hello.
He's camera shy. So Clark's getting. When are you going?
We're leaving Wednesday for Friday and Saturday. Yep, Blytheville, Arkansas.
So he's going to Flyville, Arkansas. Huh? Oh, Blysville. That's what it is. Blysville, Arkansas, for the standing mile race, right?
Yep.
So standing mile, just wanted to verify everything looked good. So Clark put the car on the dyno himself, and so I just gotta go through some tune-up stuff. We're gonna look at his pump gas tune, make sure everything looks good for the street drive. Doesn't race it on pump gas, and then we'll convert this over to the methanol side of things, and then probably should be able to run the same tune-up that he ran. How fast you go last year? 250 something?
262.85.
262.85. So we'll see what that tune-up looks like on hub dyno. So it'll be interesting of what it took to go 262 mile an hour in 4,999 pound car.
4,300.
4,300.
Ooh.
It's on a diet. So looking at tune-up information, just seeing what it ran like here, and seeing if everything looks fairly normal, not a whole bunch of correction or weird stuff going on. And that light background is throwing me for a loop here. There we go. Okay. So these little lines here are O2 corrections in the gear change and whatnot. Some of the corrections are fairly normal. When it's steady right there and he's not moving the throttle, the thing's only at 1-2% right around there. And then he lets off the throttle, and then the closed loop turns off, which is normal, and it flickers backing off and on until it stabilizes, get back down to idle. So, and idle was looking pretty lean. Oh, because it idles such a low RPM, I'll turn the right. All right. So anyways, that all looks pretty good. I think now I'll just do a little bit on here. Does that drive fine, or you think that was fine? It was no problem. You want me to do any more on it?
We should be good.
It's on camera.
We should be good.
Should be good. Okay, so why don't you go ahead and swap it over to the whole methanol, and we'll do drag race side. Alrighty, so since Clark was part of the whole no oil pressure safety debacle at Sick Week, he goes, I want you to get what?
I want one in mine.
So he didn't have one, but
Now we will.
Clark probably looks at his oil pressure a little bit more than I do.
Yes, I got a gauge.
So we're now setting up oil pressure safety here for him, and the old Holly system. And then you already got the mic. So this is the tune you ran last year.
Yep.
All right. So we're gonna run it exactly the way it was last year. Now, obviously, Clark wants to go faster than 262.
Just a little bit.
262.
Ain't nothing.
Okay, so we'll start looking at that, and we'll make some pulls. Clark let off really early. Got scared.
I got scared.
Got scared. So it has so much gear in it. It's got what?
270 with a lock-up gear bender.
270 with lock-up gear bender. So it probably has an effective gear ratio of what? One or of a two.
I don't even know.
Probably 2.0 something. I mean, like 2.0 gear. So it is really spinning fast. So I'll change a couple parameters. So start mile per hour is higher, but it was doing what it's supposed to. And then as soon as it started accelerating, then he got nervous and let off. It happens all the time at the track. It's amazing.
Hey now. Hey. Hey.
Yeah, it's gonna be 6 seconds, or it should be 6 seconds. So it'll load. I'll probably turn that to 2 because it's not gonna build a lot of boost. So it'll hold for 2 seconds, and then it'll accelerate. Then as it starts accelerating, it'll just accelerate. And you'll run it up to, I don't know, 7,500. What RPM did you go through before?
You don't know. You don't.
Oh, the log, yeah. Just run it up to 7,500. See what it does. So Clark only ran it up to 5,500 RPM, and which is no big deal. He's got the sissy foot going on. And so there's a little transition area where it starts transitioning from one injector to the other. You see this big lean spike. The O2 catches it, so it actually, the engine doesn't ever notice it, but there's the O2 catches it right there. And so I went in there and tried smoothing that out a little bit. You can see right here, I mean, that was still 6-second test, so it's probably going to be a 12-second test, all things said and done. Or probably 10-second test right around there. It's pretty long and should really get some big wheel speed, I think. So anyways, let's but the tune-up looked good otherwise. I think we're all good in the hood. Let's let her eat and see what she does. Get it to 120.
120.
Don't do anything.
Oh, it's in there.
Get it to 120. Then I'll hit the button.
Oh,
Then when I give you the nod, you roll into it and it should go whoa. Okay.
Not gonna fit. Be too big. Look at that.
Well, there you go. Now let's see if I can get out of your freaking car. Maybe I'll do it this way. How do you get out of this thing? You put your leg over that?
Yeah.
Do you?
I'm a skinny guy. There you go.
So, 2010. Forget the engine RPM number. Well, we'll take a look at it and see if that's where it's at. We'll go and look at it. Because that was 250 wheel mile an hour. So when I let off the throttle. So if you look here, yeah, that's 250 plus mile an hour when I let off the throttle. So right here is, so this is the pole we just made. You can see, and oh, look at that. See, I told you it was probably going to be about 10 seconds or so. That was 10 3/4 seconds. Made it up to 7,000 RPM. Yeah, so that's 7,000 RPM. So that actually, that speedometer was fairly good. I'm sorry, engine RPM calculation is fairly decent. Where are we at? What was that purple line there? So you can see right here, the boost takes a big jump. Now we could probably look at that in the curve now, and because our target dome is nice, flat, and linear right here, but all of a sudden it just spools right up. I think does something. Here we are at 12%. This is transition all the way to the secondary injector right there, and this must be drive shaft speed. Okay. Drive shaft speed is, I said it was only 176, but I guarantee it was faster than that. Oh, what's your wheel speed calculations based on there, Clark? Do you know?
No idea.
Bet you it is not got the right gear in it.
Probably not. I got a 350 or 340 in.
Drive shaft mile an hour.
Yep, 340. These should be 270.
Well, plus the overdrive.
0.78.
0.78. So overdrive plus the gear ratio 0.78, 2.1. So 2.1 gear ratio. There we go. How tall tires are they gonna be?
29.
29. All right, we'll figure out 30.
There's a 315, so about 29.
All right. So that's why his drive shaft mile an hour is off right there. So then it's also off in your. Did you drive it like this before?
Yeah.
So your boost curve would have been way off too. Yeah, so we get real aggressive on boost curve here, but it thought it was, it gets real aggressive through here, but it thought it was something totally different than what it actually was. So I think we'll prep that kind of stuff.
Right.
And here it is. So at here, it had 22 pounds of dome pressure. So it was theirs where it finished off. But it would have done that before. Follow? Did you have the gear, that gear and that and the locked up gear vendor?
Yeah.
Before?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it wasn't following the right curve anyways. Alright, that's what I was figuring. Alright. Let's save that tune. So a rescaled is mile an hour to the correct mile an hour, corrected boost curve. And then we'll just go back and look at tune up stuff, make sure we're looking alright. And we're at, that's taking a little bit of fuel out of it, 12%. That's fine. I really don't, not a big deal. 10, So 7, 6. So it's taking pretty minimal amount of fuel out of it. So I'm not real concerned about that. I'd much rather have it taking fuel out of it than adding to it. All right. Otherwise, I think everything looks good, and that's a nice, good long pull. We should let it cool down and take a look at all the spark plugs. We'll look at your EGTs right in the meat of this pull. I would probably look at your, looks like number 6 is got a bad noise problem through here. The rest of them look fairly normal outside of it's got, well, this thing might just have that much fuel at it because they're all pretty reasonable right there. I think we'll take a look at the spark plugs and see what they look like. And oh, it might just have that much fuel there. Fuel and lack of timing. So with disregard this one. There we go. Yeah, so that number 6 is a bad probe or it's got something going on with it. And then it goes right straight down. That EGT number 2 is, well, no, number 2 shuts off basically. So it just stays static. Number 4 is shut off. They might be shut off because they're a little cool, but yeah, let's take a look at spark plugs. And our O2 target AFR up there is 3.7. Yeah, it should be a little bit hotter than that. And then our target timing up there. Yep. All right. Yeah, let's take a look at the EGTs. I'm sorry, at the spark plugs. Alrighty, questions about the big black Hemi. Can you say that? Big black Hemi?
I think so.
I think I can say that. The big black Hemi. It is just like the crankshaft. Everything sometimes is. I'm gonna do this video someday of what people think custom engine building is, not assemblers, not people just put kits together, but real custom engine assembly. Because you guys probably all think I just like come in with my cup of coffee. Hey, let's put this short block together today. Probably be done before probably an hour or two, right, Joe?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Some pistons in.
Okay, cool. Walking off. That is not the way it is. What is my walking speed in the shop?
Almost jogging.
Almost jogging. I literally do run in the shop sometimes in between, back and forth. My average step count per day is 15,000 steps per day. I am on it all the time, running around, trying to help, trying to get this, trying to figure out what this problem is, figure this thing.
Well, we're making jokes saying that we need to put an air tag on you.
Yeah, they can put an air tag on. All it would do is just like look like a squiggle. Anyways, so after we got the crankshaft all balanced, believe it or not, the straps actually don't hurt the crankshaft as far as actual fitment in the block. There was very, very minimal problem there, but went to put the block or the crankshaft in the block and it hit the old counterweight. The normal width of the counterweight wouldn't fit. So even if we didn't add the straps to it, the crankshaft would not fit in the block. So 30 freaking hours after did the crankshaft to put the crankshaft in the block, it's clearance for stroke, and everything spins over. So you run the math on that. Who's losing money on that deal?
And it's not your typical a little bit of clearance here and a little bit on that side of the.
Oh no. This was all left 100% solid. I mean, this is it's a very well engineered piece, except for that. There is, I'm a little surprised. Even my SMX stuff comes pre-clearanced. You would, at very worst case scenario, you'd have to do very minimal, like hand grinding to get something to clear. But actually, it rotates and does everything for every stroke crankshaft I have available for it. This is just not even close. So, now let me tell you this one too. this is one of my personal favorites. You got the machinery, why don't you just program it and have the CNC machine cut it? I love that one. Okay.
I
A.
asked Brock too.
Yes.
Because I got sick of doing this.
Did you ask Brock?
Yeah, I was
How
like,
long
hey,
did he tell you it would take to do it?
He's like, it's not even worth putting in the machine.
It's not. It's not worth doing. It would, because we did not build this block, so it's not like the SMX block where we could do something like that and could relatively easy. It would probably only take like 2 or 3 days, which ironically is the same amount of time as it would just did it by hand. But it would take a minimum of 1 week of time where the machine is not cutting or doing anything else for him to program it, figure it all out, mock it all up. It would be astronomical amounts of work to make that happen. Where all this clearancing really needs to happen is the guys that actually make the block needs to do that clearancing, like what I do on SMX. But that's not their problem. Not mad about it. Just is what it is. But it is very interesting, all the things that are going on with this, and that's just the way custom engine builds are. Not complaining, well, I am complaining, but I'm not doing it to whine to you. I'm just trying to explain. This is how things are. How things should be? No. How things are? Yes. It just is what it is. So, but we got the camshaft in here, the cam bearings in here, and Joe made a observation that if you look at this, this is a 75 millimeter camshaft, right? Which is roughly 3 inches. This is a 2 3/4 inch main. The camshaft is actually bigger than the mains on a crankshaft. That's kind of neat.
And Brock had to make a custom tool just to install those cam bearings because they're so big.
Yeah, we had to make, whatever. We're always making tools and doing stuff to make, this one thing do. If the next one of these that we build, at least I'll know more of what I'm getting into, so it's going to cost you more. If you want us to build one. But at least I know exactly what we're getting into when we get there. But we're finally assembling, putting this together, and onward to next potential problem that we don't know that we're going to have until we get there. So we're going to be figuring it out. So,
Wow.
On the dot.
That's actually more than I thought.
What'd you think it was?
I mean, probably 70 pounds at least is what I was thinking, but we're degrading our big black Hemi right now. We got our indicator set up on number 1 to establish TDC so that our pointer is correct on our timing pointer. This is a little ghetto, but it's all I could make work. Don't have a 1062 tool to go in that lifter because those lifter bushings are so large. So I had to use an actual lifter and an indicator with an extension, which is fine. It works just as good. I've been able to see where everything's at. When I first installed the cam, and usually I'll just put the cam in straight up. That means 0 degrees, no advance or retard, with the dots lined up. You know, there's a dot on the cam gear and there's a dot on the crank gear. And a great starting point is lining up those two dots and installing it quote unquote straight up, like I said, at 0 degrees, and seeing where you're at, and then knowing, okay, I need to advance 2 degrees or retard 4 degrees or whatever. You'll get an idea depending on what the degree wheel tells you. Well, I did that, and I thought, maybe, do I have the indicator in the wrong lifter or something? You typically big block Chevy is the first one, but with this being a Hemi, it's usually the second one in, because I was getting like 134 degrees of intake center line, which is way far off the scale. So even if and just for giggles, I advanced the gear as far as I possibly could, which it only allows you to go 10 degrees, which is pretty normal for any adjustable gear drive. And lo and behold, I'm still off about, what, 13 degrees or so. So decided the only way to really make this work is to physically move the top cam gear over a tooth to where the dots don't line up anymore. And it's technically by the book not correct, but it's the only way I've been able to get the camshaft in the right spot. So I'll go through it again just to show you. It's kind of hard to see because the engine isn't straight up and down, but those are the dots. It may be hard to tell, but I promise you it is off a tooth. So I turned the cam, physically advanced the cam here 1 full tooth and set it back to 0. Went through the whole process, and it still needed a little bit more advance to it. So the numbers I came up with, it needed about 4 degrees advance. So I'll go through it again. So not only are we advanced 1 full tooth on the belt with this gear, we're also advanced 4 degrees with the adjustable gear itself. So here you are coming up on TDC, but we don't care about that anymore. We're worried about where the lifter's at. The lifter's still coming up, so we'll just go back to the beginning here. Get back on the base circle. Now the needle is a little wobbly because of this setup, but it's the best I can do right now. The other thing I was noticing is the at 50 numbers also seemed really odd going through this, which they were equally as odd as the where the intake center line was at. But if we come up on 50 here, we're at about 24.5, 25 degrees. That seems pretty appropriate, and that's actually really close to what the cam card says. We'll keep going. This cam in particular has 475 thousandths of lobe lift, which is quite a lot. I like to do plus minus 50 thousandths from there. So we'll go 425 before, 425 after. So already at 50. 1, 2, 3. Now this may seem really jumpy. That's because it is. A lot of times with these really big engines, with this much stroke, the ring tension makes it really hard to turn the engine just a little bit at a time, so it kind of like sticks. But we're pretty close there at 425. I'm seeing about 76 degrees. And come back all the way up. And I know we're set up pretty well because it does swing all the way to 475 thousandths and back. So that's not an issue. Coming back on 425. bit more. Passed it a little bit, but we would have been 157 and a half. Divide that by 2, 116.75. Cam card wants 117. We can move it a little bit, but that might be close enough. It will. It being a belt, it's going to stay pretty accurate. You know, it will move a little bit while the engine's running. We could probably get that 0.25 degrees, but that could also be slightly a little bit of parallax error here with the pointer, and also just some discrepancy with the indicators. But I think we're pretty close there. I think that should work just fine. But yeah, there you go. Once again, sometimes you just can't follow directions. You got to make it happen.
So what's the next step from here?
So next step's going to be button this all up, make sure everything's tight, torqued, Loctite where it needs to be, and then cam's installed, it's done. We're going to put water plates on it, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but it kind of takes up a ton of time. Tons of little screws everywhere. Got to cut and make your own O-ring cord for each one to fit. And then after the water plates are on, I always seal up the system and I hook up a pressure tester and actually pressurize the coolant passages to make sure that there aren't any leaks, because gosh forbid you have the whole engine together and you've got a small water leak going on down in here where you definitely cannot get to it with the engine together and you're just pumping water into the oil. Not good. So that'll be next. Then oil pan's going to go on. We got quite a bit of modification to do to that to make that fit. I'm not exactly sure what all we're going to run into there yet, but we'll find out when we get there. You know, after that, we got to draw some attention to the cylinder heads. We got most of the parts. There's some stuff we're waiting on, but while we're waiting on those parts, we can still do things like mock them up with test springs and measure for push rod length, because I have no idea what kind of push rods this thing's going to take. We're going to put the biggest push rod possible in this thing. I have no idea how long it's going to be. We're just going to have to figure that out. And if for any reason they're hard to get, or it takes a minute, it doesn't, you know, back us up too much. We get to one point and all we got to do is put push rods in. We got to wait 2 more weeks.
Should keep things moving.
Yeah, that's the idea. Keep things. We're already behind enough on this thing, but yeah, just working proactively is what we're trying to do. Okay, so we got the water plates on, all the O-ring cords cut and fit and put in place, all the screws in. Kind of time consuming, nothing really exciting there. And our head gaskets are 60 thousandths thick, so I stacked up a couple shims between, you can't really see them, but between the deck of the block and the head. 60 thousandths worth here and in the back. And I've got just 4 head studs snug down, just holding the head in place with the dowel pins, just to simulate the thickness of the head gasket with it installed, rather than putting the head gasket under it right now. So with that said, our head is essentially mocked up to about where it's going to be when it's installed on the block. What I'm doing now is measuring for push rod length and simultaneously checking the rocker arm geometry as well. So old school method of doing this is just painting the valve stem tip, or in this case our lash cap, which is neat, by the way. We're going to be using our SMX style and SML sewer lid style lash cap with keepers. It's also called a captive lash cap. It can't come off. You can't pull this off without breaking the keeper apart. So basically what I did here is I just set the adjuster on the rocker arm to where I wanted it to be, how many turns from bound all the way up, down, and set the lash with this adjustable push rod right here. And used that to set the lash with this locked in place. Normally you would be adjusting your lash here, but since I want that to stay fixed to where it's at, and I want the push rod to fit with where our adjuster is going to be, I'm going to install the rocker arm with the adjuster locked in place right there. Just snug these down, just so it's seated, doesn't have to be torqued. And I've already done it, but I put between our roller tip and the tip of our valve and adjusted the adjustable push rod until it took up the lash that I was looking for. Lock that in place. Now we got our push rod length and mocked up in place with a test spring. And now I can rotate the engine, let these two valves go through, their course with the adjustable push rods in, because we're just using regular test springs, which really, the spring pressure is really low. So there's no chance that we're going to actually bend or damage the adjustable push rod. But if we put it through its motions, you can see the valve's closed right now. We'll roll the roller tip a little bit so it puts a mark there that we can see. Starting to open. And all I'm doing is just trying to roll that roller tip just to give a better mark. Sometimes if you just roll it around, it doesn't mark the stem tip to where you can see it very easily. But that was full lift there. Back up to close. Engine stands wobbling. We'll pop the rocker off. Basically shows the sweep of our roller tip and where it's at on the lash cap, which looks pretty good. Which is great news, because if it wasn't good, there's nothing we can do to adjust any of this. This is all machined into the billet head. We would have to deal with valve stem lengths and lash cap thicknesses and all sorts of stuff like that to even mess around with that. So that's where we're at right now. Next, I need to figure out what is the biggest push rod we can fit in here. So haven't exactly figured out how I'm going to do that yet. I don't think we have anything in this length laying around that I can mock up with. Be cool to run like a 9/16 push rod, but I don't know, we'll see. Alright, so we got our push rod lengths determined. Now we're just trying to figure out how thick of a push rod we can run in this thing. And bigger the better. The thicker the push rod is, the better it is, the more stable it will be. And even though it's heavier, it really doesn't affect Valvetrain performance all that much. So what I did was, didn't have a push rod here that was nearly this long. This is over a 12.5-inch long push rod. But I did take the adjustable push rod and just wrapped a whole bunch of tape around it. Kind of a ghetto way of doing it. I probably could have chucked up a piece of stock in the lathe and made a collar to slide over it, but I just figured this would probably be good enough. So I wrapped enough tape around this to where the diameter is about 650 thousandths, which is way more than 9/16. And the exhaust push rod's the one I'm more concerned about because it's so long. I want it to be as thick as humanly possible. But even with all of this tape wrapped around here at 650 thousandths of diameter, we got to put our rocker arm on so we can locate it. It's a tedious process of just on and off, on and off. But anyway, it seems to be, I've already run it through the motions, it seems to be closest everywhere when the valve's closed. So the valve is closed right now. You can tell it's got lash. And it clears with the tape on there. It's probably impossible to see with the camera. Maybe even if you could try from coming up here with a light down there, maybe? Nope. Nope. Well, it's really, really close, but it doesn't actually rub. So that tells me that we've got more than enough room to run a 9/16 push rod there. without any taper or anything. The intake side's a little bit different. It gets close to the intake port here, and with the tape around that push rod, I know a 1/2-inch push rod will fit no problem. If we needed to run a 9/16, we could. We just have to go in here and just clearance a little bit of material out of there, which we can do, and that's still an option. But seeing as what I've measured so far, the intake push rod is only 10.8 inches long. I'm not nearly as concerned about that one as I am the 12.5-inch long exhaust push rod that we're going to be running in this thing. I'm glad that we can at least run a 9/16, and it's going to clear without needing to do anything to these heads. So this package is pretty slick. Doesn't look like a normal Hemi, as both the rocker arms, you'll notice they both go the same direction. The push rod locations and lifter locations have all been completely changed as to what you'd normally see in an average Mopar style Hemi, which is nothing like when you get up this high into the Valvetrain. So yeah, so far we're looking pretty good.